If you've ever been frustrated with algae, then this is the video for you. Now, this aquarium here has had lots of algae growing, and I will go through all the various reasons why that may be the case. The first thing is starting with light. The more light that you have on the aquarium, the more algae you're going to get. And if you have your light on, then you're going to get more algae. If you have the light off, you're going to have less algae. So try to have the light on when you're likely to be enjoying the fish, and try to have the light off if you're asleep or you're away. Now, the first observation here is this filter is actually not running. So there should be water coming out of there. And this is very clean. So this may be clean for two reasons. Either that it's never worked, or that it's being cleaned with water from the tap. So what we don't ever want to do is clean this sponge with tap water, because what we do want is good bacteria to grow in here, and the good bacteria that grows in here, we want breaking down the fish waste. So we don't want to worry about how clean the water is. We want to worry about the chlorine. So some people are like, oh, I don't want to clean my filter with dirty tank water. But you do, because what you don't want is the chlorine that's in the tap water to kill the good bacteria, because the good bacteria that grows in here is like the worms in the compost heap. So you need to make sure that that is cleaned with water from the fish tank, because the water from the fish tank will have had water agent in it. So therefore, it will not have chlorine in it. So we can keep our good bacteria. Now, this here is a cartridge, and this is usually good for about a month, maybe in a tank this small, maybe up to 6 weeks. If that was mine, I would actually just throw this out. It looks like it's hardly been used. And then I would, after 1 month, and I would put in some polyfilter. I'd cut a piece of polyfilter. Now, the polyfilter will adsorb and absorb anything impure out of water, and it will only take out the bad stuff, not the good stuff. The other thing you could do is consider removing the sponge and putting something much more powerful in, such as your Marine Pure gems. The other thing you could do too is look at putting some Marine Pure balls in the bottom of the aquarium, and they can work like a compost heap as well, offering parallel nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. The other thing that helps too is that this does actually have an air pump. Now, the air pump is going to increase the oxygen level of the water and decrease the CO2 level. Now, at the moment, this surface looks very flat. Obviously, the filter is not running, but we really want to agitate the surface to increase the oxygen level. Now, I've just opened up the pump. Now, if you look inside this pump, it is very, very dirty. So the reason why this pump was not running is because it's got a lot of crap in it. So we need to give this a good clean out, and then we can get this filter working. So you want to pull out the impeller and give it a clean a couple of times a year. And remember that every single filter and every single water pump is going to have an impeller inside it, unless it's air driven. Okay, so we can now see that the filter is actually working. So that's a very good start. It's really important that you can see your filter working. Even if that means that you keep your water level a little bit lower, you want to be able to see that it's stopped. Because the quicker you can adjust the filter if it stops, then the less problems you're ever going to have. Now, you can certainly tell that the filter hasn't been running now, because I've just given the glass a clean and the water clarity has gone to very, very low. There was a lot of waste in this aquarium that obviously the filter has already started to filter out. So whenever you do a big clean or turn your filter back on, you need to keep an eye on your water quality, and you need to clean your filter regularly, because this will clog up very quick with all that crap. There's 3 products I would want you using on a regular basis as far as water quality is concerned. The most important is water ager. You need to add water ager every time that you add new water to your aquarium. The other thing I want you to use is a KH buffer. Now in this case, a little bit too much has been getting used. So currently the level is 11. Now I really wouldn't want it higher than 12, but basically anything over 4 is basically fine for goldfish. So I'm not going to use any of this next time, and I would recommend not using that until the levels come down. So it is totally fine at this level, but I would not want it higher. And the last thing that I would want to use is a GH salt. And I would be testing GH, pH and KH and deciding how much of the GH or KH to use. If the GH is too high, I'll do a water change and use no GH. If the GH level is too low, then I will just add some GH. If the pH or KH is too low, then I would do a water change and consider adding some KH. If the KH is too high, then I would do a water change and not add KH. Same for pH. Testing the water, it's really important to wait long enough for the test to change. So in this case, there's a tiny bit of ammonia in the water, which I would expect considering the filter wasn't running. There's a tiny bit of nitrite, which once again would be the filter, and there is some little bit of nitrate in the water. So all in all, the water quality is actually not that bad, and that may be because the filter has not been off for long, or it could just be that there's only one fish in there. Now, any problems that you have with an aquarium is massively exacerbated by more fish. More fish and problems occur very quickly. If you have less fish, problems evolve much slower. So in this case, a water change will be in order and just allowing time for this good bacteria to grow. If you have any issues with your aquarium, absolutely do not add new fish for the next couple of weeks. And then you want to get your water quality good and make sure it's good for a week or two before you go adding new fish. The worst thing you can do is just pop down to the aquarium shop and buy some fish, because the thing is that your fish may be okay even though your water quality is not that great. So this guy here, he's visibly doing fine even though the water quality is not great. But the problem is, if you go and buy new fish and you put them in and the water quality is not great, then that shock can cause the new fish to get sick, and then you can turn around and think there's something wrong with the new fish and accuse the new fish of making your fish sick, when that isn't the case at all. The fact is, the other fish have come from a healthy environment, they've gone into a less healthy environment, and they've got sick because they're not used to that environment. So just to be safe, every time you buy a fish, bring a little video of the aquarium running or the pond. But in the video, I also want to see any bits and pieces you've got. Whatever you've got, let us see that as well, because there's every chance we might recommend something and you may even have the thing that we recommend instead of us having to sell it to you again. Once the gravel is in the aquarium, we don't ever want to pull it out to clean it. And the reason why we don't want to pull it out to clean it is that we want all the good bacteria that grows in the gravel. So the good bacteria that grows in the gravel becomes a big part of the filtration. But in saying that, we don't want the gravel getting really dirty. So what we do want to do is we want to use a gravel cleaner when we're doing the water changes, and then the gravel cleaner will allow us to clean the gravel while we're doing a water change so the gravel doesn't get really dirty, but at the same time it avoids us from having to take the gravel out of the aquarium and therefore killing off all the good bacteria that was living inside the gravel on the surface area of the gravel.